Hello and welcome to the Backyard Machine Shop. Well, guys, we're on location. We're actually about 3,000 miles from the Backyard Machine Shop. We're out here in Sunland, California. One of my viewers is Warren's shop. And Warren invited me to come take a tour. There's a couple of things I want to show you. But first of all, let's look at what he's got here. He's got some nice old machines. He's got a tree mill. Now, I've never seen a tree mill up close and personal. I've heard about them. But this machine is beautiful, and it's awesome. It's huge. It uses a collet system that's unlike typical the R8 collets. It's just a massive machine, and I'm really impressed with it. And it's in beautiful condition. Warren, you know what year this was?
I actually don't.
Okay, so it came out of JPL, right?
Yeah.
So it came out of JPL Laboratories near here in Pasadena.
50s, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, so it's probably mid-50s or so, but it's so well built, and it's just a sight to see. It looks like it's got a riser on it to pick it up a little bit taller. And over here he's got a Smith mill shaper. Now you know how we are about shapers. Everybody's starting to collect shapers again. And I just recently had a 24-inch brought into my shop. This is what, 32? Everybody's got the shaper bug. Warren's had the shaper bug for a while. And this is the first Smith and Mills that I've ever seen. I've read about them. It's a really robust machine, just like the G&Es and the Cincinnati's. Now the thing is it's got box ways, whereas a lot of our machines have got V-ways, and it's just robust. Looks like it can do a lot of work. But the reason I'm in this shop, guys, so this is the story I got for you. You see what's behind me here? I've got the younger brother to the old 748. This is the old 1150. So serial number on this machine is 1150. Now there's a story behind this. A couple weeks ago, John Dunn sent me a message. Y'all remember who John Dunn is. He's the one that's always putting me on these machines and parts and doing things for me. Well, anyway, John Dunn sent me a message and says, Mike, Savannah Craigslist, there's actually a lathe, the Pratt and Whitney, just like the one you have. And so I was thinking in my mind, that's impossible. To have 200-year-old Pratt and Whitneys that nobody has ever really knew about in Savannah, you know, existing in Savannah, Georgia. So I looked at the Craigslist ad, and it had a unfamiliar area code. So I fired off the area code. I fired off a text message to Warner here, and he replied back that he was in Sunland, California. So I was like, wow, you know, I'm going out to California in a couple of weeks. How close is that to Rancho Cucamonga? He says only 45 minutes away. I said, well, do you think I can come by and see this lathe? And he said, sure, you know, no problem. But I'm missing a little detail in here. When I contacted him, I said, you know, I told him, I said, look, I just got through rebuilding a Pratt and Whitney just like the one that you have, and if you feel free to link my YouTube account or YouTube videos to his Craigslist ad, and maybe to help him sell the lathe. So he was like, well, I'm trying to get this right. He says, basically he put the ad in Savannah's Craigslist to find me, and he did. So as fate has it, I traveled 3,000 miles. I was already traveling it, and he was 45 minutes away, and we have another example of old 748, which this is the old 1150. Now, there was a couple of things I wanted to do with this lathe. One is I wanted to prove a couple of things that I've seen in mine and see if they were actually factory things, or as one was the tiger striping in the ways. Mine, if you remember, we had tiger striping. We'd come up with a couple of things. Maybe it was a rust pattern or some oil dried on it over the years and stained it. Maybe a heat treatment. We don't know. But Warren's lathe is a little more worn than mine is. But you can still see some of those patterns in this lathe. And so that's pretty much, to me, that's proven that it was something that came out of Pratt and Whitney like that. We don't know what it is, whether it's a heat treatment or what, or if it's just the way they're cast iron aged. But there is some little indices along this machine that has that same pattern. So, so we come out here to revisit it. Here's Warner. Now, Warner's an old machinist just like me, and you know, Warner, you plan on selling this, or are you going to try to keep it around, or?
Well, to tell you the truth, Mike, after watching your videos, you're quite the inspiration to a lot of guys out there, and myself included. And when I saw what you did with your lathe, you certainly inspired me to at least consider. I was never going to scrap it or junk it or anything like that. I mean, I think it's a piece of working art, and we have Pratt and Whitneys at work, and this one was just quite a bit older. But you certainly inspired me to seriously consider restoring it, so that's a decision I got to make.
Cool. Well, I can tell you what. I was asked when I was. It was a statement made when I was restoring my lathe, and it asked me, why did I take something that seemed so good condition completely apart and put it back together? Well, guys, the reason we do this is there is no documentation on these machines. There's no assembly manual, there's no manuals, there's nothing. So by sharing this on video and doing this on video, now somebody like Warner, he can come in here and do his and use my videos as references for his machine. Also, I can use my machine if there's anything missing, and we can make parts. You know, we'll share this experience and keep these old machines alive. Now, that's the whole purpose of doing that. So, I'm going to tell Warner right now that if he ever decides to not do this, contact me, and I'm going to try to figure out how to save this machine in some other way. So we're not going to, like you said, he's not going to go to scrap. We'll either get it to someone else that'll do it, or I'll come get it and take it home. So now the next thing that's kind of a small world issue was I was at the bash yesterday at Stankowski's house, and I was approached by a young man there, and then the first thing he does, he walks up to me and says, "Love your videos, and I have a lathe just like yours." Just like the old 748. So the difference is, his is a 10-foot length bed, where these are, I think, 8, maybe or 6. But he has 8 foot between centers, and these machines have about 36 inches, maybe 40 inches between centers. So, but the condition of his machine is pretty much unrestorable. The saddle is broken, a few other things is wrong with it. So, but what I've talked to him about, he was considered parting the machine out and selling parts for it. So I'm going to get with him, and I need a few things for, like, he's got some chuck mounts and a faceplate. So things like that we're probably going to get from him, because his lathe is not salvageable. But I'm going to put him in touch with Warner here in case he needs to start doing his, and he needs something, he can do the same type thing. But anyway, it's just amazing that there's another example of Pratt and Whitney's. This is what I'm calling a tool room lathe. That from I dated mine around 1916. This one's probably a little later. It's probably closer to 1920. I say 3 years or 4 years behind mine. It's 400 different in its serial number. So they built 400 machines between this one and mine. So I would imagine at that time and place that 400 machines probably were, you know, a few years. But it's a beautiful example still. It's a little dirty right now, but you know, I see a couple of things that had been done to it over the years that aren't exactly, you know, what you call desirable. But you know, these guys had to work. They had to make these things work. If you got a part that wasn't fit in here, you know, you had to do something, and this was a workhorse, and so these guys had to do what they had to do, and I understand that. So, you know, we're sitting here, and I'm going to take a few pictures of it, and we're going to discuss everything here. He actually took me on a private tour of his work yesterday, and that was awesome. And you'll see some of that in the upcoming video. So one of the things I forgot to mention in the video. Warren still has the dauber like I do. His dauber is a little different than the one that I have on my lathe. He says it's because it's the more modern one. But anyway, guess what he's got in it? And I've never seen this. He's still got white lead in it. So you know it's been a long time since this thing was used, because we ain't had white lead around a long time. But it's cool. I mean, he's got a faceplate for it and a 4-jaw chuck steady rest. If you step over here, you remember me rebuilding the Lima drive? Well, this is Warren's drive. He's got the counter shaft mounted on a massive casting here, and it's driven by what looks like to be probably a 3 horsepower or 2 horsepower single phase motor. Got maybe an 18-inch wheel here, so you got, and it's got a clutch. All right, guys. So I'm sitting here looking at this old 1150, and I noticed something different. So this is why I wanted to come see it, to compare it to the old 748 to see the differences. I'm gonna bring you on in here. Remote. All right, guys, look at the crossbar. We noticed that it had the crossbar, but what is different with this crossbar? And I'll tell you. Start with no holes. The crossbar I have had a hole every 2 inches all the way across it. Never could figure out what the holes was for. So maybe that was added at some point in afterwards, or maybe the more modern ones didn't call for them. It's also round. The one that I have is hexagonal. And so there's a difference too, the hexagon.
I didn't realize that.
So
It doesn't show up in the video.
no, but it is. And so maybe mine was replaced at some point, maybe his was replaced, or maybe this is something that they did at some point to and change the design. But it works the same, and it's there. It switches, it feeds in and out. So, but there's one difference. The daubers are different. You know, about it. But so from Sunland, California, in the Backyard Machine Shop. So long.